So now what we need to do is adjust how our order is being created and calculated based off of our billing profile. So this should make a little bit more sense once we do it, but the general idea is we have our cart. We shouldn't create the order for that cart until we have that billing profile. So there's a really good chance if somebody's going to be continuing as a guest, there's a chance that they probably aren't going to stop in between that and then, log in. But if they do, we need to account for that as well. So now what we want to do is actually update our order based off of the billing profile and the cart. So those two things together, because if we don't have those two things together, then yeah, we're probably gonna run into a few issues. Okay, so one of the other things that I absolutely want to get rid of is this guest email ID if I log in. So in my view for login, I want to actually delete that request session item. So I'm just going to come in here, form valid login. Right in here, I'm going to delete that guest email ID. We don't want that in our session anymore because we don't want to have any sort of confusion with it going forward. We just want to use our data as needed, and then we'll actually associate things inside of the order, what we'll do right now. So inside of our order, we want to bring in that billing profile, which we actually already talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and do from billing.models import billing profile. And now it's going to be models.foreign key billing profile. In this case, our billing profiles should have many different foreign keys. They should allow for many different foreign keys. But the main thing here is we don't want to have our cart and billing profile to have any issues. That is, if we create multiple billing profiles on accident, the cart should no longer exist on those old ones, on the old orders, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, you will see that as well in just a moment. So I'll say models.boolean field, and we'll do default equals to true. Okay. So let's go ahead and run our python manage.py, make migrations, and then we're going to do a one-off value. So we've got our billing profile. It's asking for a one-off value right now. I'm just going to go ahead and quit and just say null equals to true and blank equals to true for now. And then we'll go ahead and make those migrations and then python manage.py migrate. Okay, so now going back into our cart, actually creating this order is going to be a lot more complicated. So the first things first is we want to make sure that this order doesn't exist. So we'll do order qs equals to order.objects.filter either, and it's going to be cart equaling to cart object. Like I want to make sure that if order.qs.exists, so if there's anything in there, then we are just going to update that entire query set. We'll say update active equals to false. Okay, so let's go ahead and also put this on active being true. All right, so that means that our order query set, if it exists, then we're going to just make it not exist anymore. So it's now inactive. We're not deleting it. We can delete it, but we're not going to. I want to keep some of these old orders. And now, otherwise, so if it doesn't exist, this is this else clause, we're actually going to create it. So I'll cut this out, paste this in here, and I can get rid of this else clause now. But in this case, I'm going to just do create, no longer get or create because we don't need that. So we've got order object, we have the cart, right? But we also need that billing profile. So billing profile equals to the billing profile. Okay, so this gives us our actual order object, and it should do it in a way that makes a little bit more sense. So we'll have to test this out to see what I mean. But what I want to do is inside of that checkout, all I'm going to do here is that object or the order object, we'll do object.order ID so we can see this order ID to make sure that if you log in or if you go in as a guest user, fill it out, start to do stuff and go, oh, wait, I have an account, so I'm going to log in. I want to make sure that that order ID is the same, or at least being updated. So the order ID doesn't really matter, but rather the object.cart matters, right? So those two things are the ones that matter with that change. So it's really going to be the cart that ends up being something that matters. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. We don't have a cart at all. We don't have any information at all in here. So we will probably have to make some changes in general with how this is functioning. So we will come back to that, but let's go to products. We'll go to product. It says it's in the cart already. So we'll go to add to cart, go to checkout, and there's our checkout. So we've got our ID here, and we have a cart number. So that's ID cart number 27. I'm logged in. I log out. Obviously, all of that's going to go away. So add to cart, go to cart. Now we've got 28. I'm going to continue as guest, abc1234, whatever, at gmail.com. I hit continue. My checkout, if I refresh in here, it actually does show me what's going on here. It didn't do that a second ago, but we'll have to play with that in a minute. But really here, we've got our cart of 28. That's still valid. If I log in and go back into that cart, go back into the checkout, refresh in there, I see that, oh, okay, good. I have that it's still that cart of 28, but this time I'm now logged in. That was the purpose of that logic that we just did. So if we go into our orders, this order right here is still 28, where we still have a few of them that are 28, right? But none of them are actually associated to some of them aren't even associated to a billing profile, which is something we need to adjust. So what that means is down here, a big part of the reason we're not seeing a billing profile, or that's why we're seeing an empty billing profile, is I want to say if billing profile is not none, then I can run all of these things. Okay, so let's log out and try all this over again. So I'm logging out here, and we're going to go into our products, add a t-shirt, go to the cart, check out, click checkout. We don't have an order, right? So it shouldn't show anything here. That's good. So we don't have an order ID. We don't have a cart ID either. So let's go ahead and continue as guest. We'll do aaa@gmail.com. We'll hit submit. We now have a cart ID as well as an order ID. We're going to go ahead and log in, go back, check out. It's still running this error for some reason, but if I refresh in there, we've got 29. Okay, so that's really good. That's exactly how we wanted this to go about. But for some reason, it's actually requiring me to refresh in here when I log in, which is not something that I want to have happen. But by and large, we're going to come in here, go to view, add a cart, check out. It's possible that we have to like completely refresh it. So let's go ahead and log out, products, view, add to cart. We're in that cart, check out, abc123 at Gmail, submit. There we go. We go to log in. Okay. I click on the cart. I click checkout. So there's something happening here that's not supposed to happen. So we're supposed to actually get this billing profile. And I think it's because of this statement here. So we're going to pause it for a moment, play around a little bit, and come right back. Okay, so the problem actually wasn't here. This is pretty solid, which we could find out from printing out the billing profile. Every single time it should work exactly as expected, even with this else clause in there. The problem is right here. So if I save this and refresh a few times, it's actually creating a new order, as we see with that order ID constantly changing. And I'm just logged in. I'm not any different user. So it has to do with the logic of this. So this logic is actually really poor. So what I want to do is I'm going to just completely get rid of it. Let's just not even think about it right now. First of all, let's check to see if our order, we want to say order QS equals to the order.objects.filter. We want to first of all see if the billing profile is equal to our current billing profile. We also want to see if the cart is equal to our cart object. So if this exists at all, then that's going to be our object, right? So we'll say if order qs.count, or yeah, let's leave it as .count equals to 1. Then our order object equals to the order query set dot first. Okay. Otherwise, then we'll create that new order object. So we'll do order object equals to order dot objects dot create, and we're going to do that billing profile and the cart, just like that. Cool. So the other part is, well, what happens if this query set is greater than this? That's another part of this. So I'll just come in here and say active being true. I want to make sure they're active. So the else clause is still creating a brand new one, but it's not actually getting rid of any of the old ones. So all I need to do here is just say the old order QS equals to basically everything but this one. So we'll say excludes this billing profile, but then filter with the same cart. So I'm going to leave it as active being to true as well. So that's the old query set. And then we'll just update it. We'll say if old order qs.exists, then we'll say old order query set dot update active equals to false. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it and refresh in here. Now if I'm refreshing, notice that the order ID doesn't actually change. Let's try it out with a brand new one. We'll go to products. We'll just add in a product here, add a cart, checkout. We don't have an order ID. Nothing's created yet, obviously, because we don't have a billing profile yet. So abc@gmail.com. I'll hit continue as guest. 37 is the cart, right? The order is not the same. It shouldn't be the same, because then I'm going to go ahead and log in as my user, and I'll come back into that cart, go back into checkout, and it's back to being 37, although the order ID changed. If I refresh several times, still there, still the exact same checkout and cart function. If I log out and log back in, the cart's empty again. So we actually aren't persisting that with the user, but we have it where now the orders are clearing out based off of the logic that it should be. And of course, if we actually go into our admin, let's take a look at all these orders. If I click on my orders here, I'm going to have a ton, even though I didn't really run through any orders. And this is because of how that old portion was flawed. Okay, so we're going to leave it here for now. In the next one, we're actually going to get the order based off of the cart and billing profile, and we're going to put this into the order itself. So this should be a model manager. It should be very, very similar to this. This is just a lot of stuff going on here. We could consider this one as a model manager as well, but I'm not going to do that at this point. Instead, I'm just going to really be focusing on this order based off the cart and the profile. So stick with us.